Serious, what is the creepiest or most unexplained thing that's happened to you that you still think about to this day? I used to work in a nursing home where I cared for dementia patients. Every patient on the hall I worked on would steal spoons from dinner to give to the kids because they like shiny things. It got to the point where once a week I'd have to go through everyone's room to take back the spoons. I asked the patients about the kids many times but never got a good answer. I'd hear things like they just live here or they stand outside in the snow and look in the windows or they're my friends who visit. Wouldn't be so weird if they all didn't do it, but it was everyone, the ones who were still capable of speaking anyways. One time at 3 a.m. one of my patients started screaming, so I ran in her room and found her lying in bed, seemingly fine. I asked what was wrong and she said that boy is here again and won't get out of my closet. I'm scared. Like me too, Dolores, what the heck? I used to work in a nursing home through high school in the Midwest in a tiny-ass town. I'll never forget the story of the night when 4 or 5 call lights went on one of our wings/halls, and every single one was to tell us something to the effect of the children came and rearranged the furniture. Sure enough, there were chairs pushed around even in rooms where the resident wasn't able to stand on their own. The creepiest one was the man who was seated on the toilet and has a chair pushed up against the door. Who wasn't able to stand on his own and used a wheelchair plus someone to help him get up to it. There were more creepy stories I gained on night shift over 4 years, but that one was definitely scary even not being firsthand. My personal favorite firsthand experience was at various points throughout the night we heard a very distinct scream. My partner and I cleared all the rooms looking for someone in trouble, radioed the nurse and she didn't hear it at all. Later we were outside and heard it again, and she was inside and called us back and freaking out. A few hours later we had a resident go missing and we found her in an empty room in the pitch black just staring at the wall. Driving home from work late one night I was followed and it was weird. I left the hospital and turned off the main road to a bunch of side streets I would take. At one point I noticed a car behind me that made the same left turn as me. They sped up to get behind me. I thought nothing of it. Then I briefly thought about running to 7-Eleven to grab some food and turned on my right signal. But I realized I had food at home, so I turned my signal off. The car behind me turned on their right signal and turned it off as well, exactly as I had. At that point I got a bit spooked. So I turned my right signal on and they did as well. Instead, at the next intersection I turned left even though my right signal was on. They did as well. They proceeded to follow me through a series of odd turns. Eventually I turned onto a cul-de-sac I knew about and figured I could turn around there and look at the driver to see who was following me. As I approached the end of the road they figured out what I was doing. They stopped and did a fast K-turn and sped off. It was weird. Still don't know who it was. I had a recurring nightmare of a pitch-black parasite sucking the life out of me. Sometimes it waited for me in dark corners to go to bed. My cats always slept on my bed during that time. For me it was a very stressful time. I got an itch at the place of my chest where I dreamed the parasite was sucking my life out of me. I got sick and felt a pea-sized lump. I went to my doc and they ordered a biopsy of that lump. As it turned out I had male breast cancer at the age of 28. After I got well again the dream never came back and my cats slept in their places again and not on my bed. The dream was creepy enough. What it made for me were my cats protecting me. Cats are remarkably in tune with human health. Many stories of cats in nursing homes spending time with someone right before they die. My own cat will never leave my side when I'm really sick. It's quite interesting. I had a schnauzer that could hear a cat stalk across a Persian rug. The slightest noise could wake her from a slumber and set off her constant barking. She made a great tent companion while on backpacking trips. Bears, raccoons and skunks would all get fair warning if they came within range of our campsite. One morning we woke up from a night without interruptions in the backcountry of SW, Colorado, and I found my tent's central guy line was no longer staked down by the aluminum stake that I had used but instead by a piece of aspen branch that had been carved into what looked like a tiki statue. Nothing too ornate, but a snarling face with teeth had been carved from the bark and it had obviously been heated in a fire to give it a brown color. My dog didn't make a sound and I apparently slept harder than I thought. I scrambled out of the tent and looked around the small alpine lake and saw no other campers nor any sign that people had been around. Cut my trip short and hauled ass the 8 miles back to my car. Not a single other car in the lot at the trailhead. Whenever I think about doing a rural camping trip by myself, this is the kind of stuff I imagine happening. So creepy. Jesus. This one really freaks me out. Like, who would do that and why? Why didn't your dog freak out? Or if it did, how did it not wake you up? This one is so bizarre. My last year at university, I lived in a 4-bedroom house, with a ground floor, then 2 floors with 2 bedrooms each. My friends had the first floor bedrooms, I was on the second floor, and the bedroom next to me was empty because the guy who had rented it was staying with his girlfriend. I don't think he ever slept there. My bedroom and his had small crawl space cupboards in the corners. I come home from university one day to find my friends discussing noises sounding like footsteps that they've heard from my floor at night, when I was asleep. I laugh, because apparently these noises are loud and I have heard nothing. Because I don't believe them, I offer to go look at the crawl spaces. We go upstairs, I open the door of the empty room, and right as I open the door to the crawl space in the other corner of the room slams shut. We freak out. There's no reason for that door to have been open in the first place. So we grab kitchen knives, hole up in one of their rooms, and wait for a friend to come and check the cupboards and attic. We never found out what those noises were, but it was the scariest thing that happened the whole year we were there. We had a rescue dog years back, terrier mix. We lived in the countryside on a wooded hillside and owned about 5 acres of woodland and rough fields, mostly wild. This dog loved to be up there chasing rabbits but loved her home too, so would never be gone for very long. One day she went missing. We took our other dogs up there and searched thoroughly but nothing. We had another friend bring his dogs, nothing. We advertised, put up posters, we did little but search high and low for 6 days but nothing. On the 6th day we had pretty much given up hope, but I decided to go up one last time because I had a hunch, a tickle in my belly, about one particular area which had already been thoroughly searched. I took a sickle and a pair of gardening gloves and hacked my way towards the center of a huge bramble patch. It was summer and all I could hear was birdsong and insects, but suddenly I heard a muffled yip. I called her name and then heard her again getting excited. She was deep underground in a rabbit warren. I stayed calling to her until help arrived. The local fire brigade were kind enough to come and help and advice, and we got her out eventually. She ran around like a demented muddy pup, and amazingly the vet said she was basically okay, had probably been getting enough moisture from eating mud to keep her alive. I am not generally a fanciful person, but I just knew in my knower she was there. No explanation for it. That's super strange, but somehow I have a pretty similar sixth sense type story. My oldest friend and I went to different high schools, but we kept up with holiday messages just to keep the friendship going. The only way I could text her was through my Facebook account, but since I only had the account on my old iPod, I only checked it every couple of weeks to check in or see if she sent me anything. So anyway, one day I just get this sudden urge to charge up my iPod and see if she sent me anything. I hadn't checked for around a month or so chances are she had, if just a "how are things going" type message. Once I charge it up though, turns out she had sent me a message, literally 30 minutes before. It turns out that she was sent to a mental health institute for youth after attempting suicide, and she wanted to call and talk about it. I went through an incredibly similar situation a year or so previously, so we talked for hours about what she was going through. Now she's in a much better place. That was all around 3 years ago. I wonder if it was all just a coincidence, to check if she texted me at that point. I don't really know what to believe, but thank goodness I did check when I did. I've shared this before, but I still think it's an interesting story. I was exploring the area behind my house shortly after we moved in. The area back there had once been a small quarry that had since filled with water. It was a pit of pond that supposedly went straight down 60 feet if you stepped into it. I was walking along the edge and I came across a backpack filled with old video game cartridges and a set of clothing just lying on the ground. They were for the N64, and we found this around 2004, so they were outdated. Next to it was a set of clothing. The clothes were laying on the ground, spread out, pants and shirt, so it looked like someone laying down. They looked like they'd been there a long time. Same with the backpack. I told my parents and they called the cops. There had been no reports of missing children or anything in the area. We never got an explanation, but it was weird. Edit, just to answer some questions. I don't think it was a prank. While we were new to the neighborhood, we were renters. Also, most of our neighbors were elderly. This happened in a rural Virginia town, and I can't imagine anyone wasting cartridges like that since most kids were lucky to have an N64. No people, adult or child, had been reported by families or the neighborhood as missing for years. They never searched the quarry because they never had any reason to think there was something wrong. My sister and I went out there every day for a year or so and just avoided that spot because I was creepy. As far as I know, they're still out there. Memorial to a child who drowned years before? Not that we knew of. It was a small neighborhood and something like that would have been common knowledge. Right after quarantine started, I got a package in the mail. It was addressed to my name and my address and contained one pink starburst and nothing else. To this day, I have no idea who sent it or why. The return address was a vacant office space across the country. Edit: I did not eat it. The postmark matched the address, I believe, but it's been so long I'm not positive. There is one friend I'm thinking could have done it, but she has since passed away. It was not sent from overseas. It uses my full name, which I don't go by for anything except legal documents. I have a nickname I use almost exclusively. We had only been in this house for 8 months before I got this, and we don't really know our neighbors, and my Amazon account is under my husband's information. And thank you for the awards. If that's a prank by someone you know, that's a really good one. They know you'll ponder about it the rest of your life. This is my guess. I did a variation of this with a Hershey's bar on the front seat of my best friend's truck. He had forgotten I had a key from our college dorm room days in case he needed me to drive for some reason. He still has no clue, and he mentions it about once a year. One of my favorite pranks is to hang onto random old keys that don't go to anything anymore and slip them onto people's unattended keychains. Bonus points if it's something that looks specific, like a car key with a brand name they don't drive. Not creepy as such, more just unexplained. As a kid, I was round a friend's house after school. It was a sunny day, so we went to the park near his house, then through the woods there. His younger brother was with us as well. In the woods, beside the path, there were red berries on the ground. The berries had been arranged into 3 stick figures, which was weird as there were 3 of us. We got back to the house, and my friend and I decided to go back to take another look. His brother stayed at the house. When we got back, there were only 2 stick figures. My friend snapped a photo on his phone, then kicked the berries, and we ran back to the house. I have no idea what was going on. Was it just some kind of prank being pulled on us? Edit: changed floor to ground. I meant ground. I have no idea why I typed floor originally. Nah, that's still creepy as F. Probably raccoons. The answer to every story in this thread. Was camping alone in a small one-person tent. All snug and secure in the tent, I went to sleep. Was woken by a clap of thunder at 3 a.m., to discover both the inner and outer tent door was wide open. That was freaky. Man, I love camping, but I don't think I'd ever be able to go camping alone. Even in an RV. I used to camp alone in an RV, and one night I woke up to my cat just screaming like someone was killing him, which didn't make sense. There's no way someone could get inside without waking me up, but it was the first thing that came to mind. I looked around for him and finally found him behind the curtain on the dashboard, and outside there was a cat wandering through the campground. That's what got him going. It took me a while to get back to sleep that night. I was camping at the top of a mountain in Turkey, close to a mass grave of some unfortunate pilgrims. Late at night, a large dog, probably a Congal, wandered into vicinity of my tent and woke me up with its howl. It then circled my tent, making growling and crunching noises. Never before have I been so aware that a tent is nothing but a very thin layer of synthetic fabric. I was so terrified of drawing attention to myself I stayed frozen in place in my tent for hours. In the morning I found my trash had been pulled out from under my tent's fly. And this is why you never sleep with food or even trash anywhere near you. It should be tied up 100 feet from your tent. Solo camped in Denali, Alaska, in the foothills of the range. Woke up when I heard splashing feet in the nearby creek. Knew it was bear. Confirmed it was 2 cubs followed by their mama. There are no trees of any substance in the interior, so no scrambling up one of them, so I just pretended to be invisible. That worked. Still get chills thinking if one of the cubs found me I'd be dead meat. Literally. F. That. I camped in France on my own and still get chills remembering snuffling around my tent at 3 a.m. Probably foxes and definitely not a family of bona fide killers. I've had raccoons open my tent doors before. Probably that. Yup, raccoons are too smart and too mischievous. I blame everything mischievous on raccoons even though I live in the UK. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for my first awards, guys. No, we don't have raccoons in the UK. I guess our equivalent are foxes. Haha, I'm in Scandinavia and same. Never even met a wild raccoon in my life. I live in the northeastern US and raccoons, while adorable, are such a nuisance. They mess with my garbage cans constantly, knock over flower pots, and there's an especially fat one that sits in a tree in my backyard and makes noises at us if we're outside. Maybe around age 14, early 90s. We were traveling from TX up to Tacoma, Washington. We were about out of money, almost out of gas, no food, stuck in Chico, California. I sat in the car while Mom took my younger sisters to the restroom at a gas station. I was riddled with anxiety about our situation and looking down. The car door opened and I looked up. A lady that looked like a brown-haired Brady mom sat in the seat and faced me. She said, "It seems like you're down on your luck. Take this and give it to your mom. Tell her to pay it forward someday to someone who needs it." I looked down into my hand and there was a $100 bill. I looked up and she had disappeared. Nowhere in the parking lot, just vanished. I cried. When Mom came back, I told her what happened and she cried. We got gas. There was a guy selling oranges on the side of the road and we bought a bag and went to a local park that had a part of the river with a little spillway dam and went swimming and ate oranges for a couple of hours before getting back on the road. I never saw the lady again, but she saved us and we did make it up to Tacoma to start our new life. Thank you, stranger lady with invisible powers. We never forgot your kindness. Did you pay it forward? Many times. I made helping others a fundamental part of myself. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.